Okay, you're live on YouTube and this meeting is being recorded.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Northborough Open Space Committee. This meeting of the Northborough Open Space Committee is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, an act relative to extended certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency. Signed into law June 16, 2021, this meeting will be conducted by remote participation. No in-person attendance by members of the public will be permitted. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, the town of Northborough has advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings. And as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. All members of the Northborough Open Space Committee are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows Northborough Open Space Committee to meet entirely remotely, so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of the meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link on the website. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not have public comment. Okay, that being done, thanks everybody for making time to be here. I see this meeting as being pretty brief, trying to keep it in 30 minutes or less. Our primary purpose is just reviewing again our CPA applications that we put forth, or the ones that we aren't putting forth for that matter, and get everybody's feedback once again on where our priorities are. As a prelude to that, I wanted to talk about the overall situation with CPA applications this year as I see it. Being on that committee, I've seen all the applications. The first meeting of the CPC is this Thursday, and it's a pretty full slate. I sent around an attachment, which was part of the 2021 town meeting presentation. And it's a summary chart that I try to put together for that meeting. I wanted everybody to look at it. And if you didn't get it, it's no big deal. I just wanted to give you a summary for what all CPA projects have been doing for the last 15 years of the town having it. And roughly speaking, open space and recreation have accounted for 45% of our projects. And historical is the other big chunk. Affordable housing has been a little less than half of the other two, and there's still an unreserved balance. As a matter of review, CPA requires that we allocate at least 10% to each of those three main categories: housing, historical, and open space recreation, from the new year's revenues. And then we're free to allocate from there, from the reserves or from the new revenues. There are something like 1.4 million in applications. If we were to take them all, I foresee about 700,000 in new revenue. The revenues are up for the town, which is good, and the state match was higher, which is also good. And there will be some reserves. There were about 700 available last year, 600, 700 available. That might be a little less, but it's unlikely that every project can get approved this cycle. That being said, I wanted to lead you into that regarding our conservation fund application. I checked with the town accountant, and the conservation fund currently has about 760,000. That includes 400,000 that we did put in from last town meeting. With that known, I think we're going to have resistance for our application for 400,000 more. It's possible that it'll be compromised down, but there are a number of other projects that I think will end up having priority. So with that said, any comments, feedback? on that particular application?
I might be inclined to cut it in half. Brings us to close to $1 million. Still seems like a decent.
It's a good start.
And we went for a couple of years with nothing going, right? So it's possible
Several
to get
years,
struck,
yeah. I mean, you know,
struck completely.
right. We certainly spent a lot on open space over the years. When you add last year, the 400,000 into the con fund and the pickleball courts, trying to think of it. We added 690 to open space rec projects, and it's been 4.9 million in the prior year. So, you know, we've put a lot into open space and rec, which is good. The town, I think, voted for CPA largely on open space preservation. But I think we do seek some balance, and there's a big affordable housing project that's coming up, and that's going to require 800,000 if it was approved. So that's more than the new revenues. You know, that's going to take, that'll have some serious discussion.
I'm sorry, John, what did you say was the amount that you have in there now? Is it 760?
Yeah, 761, I think.
Because I
That's,
think to Leslie's point is pretty good, trying to get up to the $1 million mark. You know, land is so valuable right now that, you know, even if you had the ability to wanting to purchase something, you know, land prices are just appreciating so fast that I think anything that, you know, $1 million is really what you want to have. And I think, you know, that's a reasonable amount to have in your bank account should something come forward.
Yeah, agreed. It's been our stated goal. When presenting this article, it is weighed against the need for urgency. And if we don't have something in the pipeline that, you know, we believe is really going to need the money, then it's a tough case. We have the possibility of another Howard Street parcel. I don't think that's gone that far just yet. But, you know, other than that, we have our projects that we're looking forward to. And that'll be our position. Let's see what we can do with it. But it's a tough spot this year, I think.
John, a question on the mechanics then. Do we need to do anything to the application that's submitted by Open Space to indicate you know, a high mark of what we'd like to ask for, and then a low mark of what we'd be willing to negotiate down to? Or is that the sort of discussion that happens during the CPC review, and you'd be able to adjust amounts if it looks like the full 400 wouldn't be approved, but maybe we could get the 200 or something like that?
It's typically done in discussion by the committee in open hearing. And that kind of trade-offs, the kinds of trade-offs are discussed, and we look at the total available funds and the projects that the minimums that we know we have to make, the projects that we feel that are most urgent, and then knock it down from there. And so we don't need to resubmit it so much as defend it, just like we're doing now. To that end, I would like at least one member of Open Space to be available during the CPC hearings. That'll be in January, and to present either all of our articles or one Open Space member for each of them if we so choose. But rather than, since I'm an Open Space member and I'm on that committee, you know, it's usually not a problem for me to discuss the applications, but I think it'd be helpful, and I'd like to have somebody from the committee step up. We don't have to decide tonight, but someone to be available for that hearing to discuss our applications. And probably more importantly, to the accessible trail and the Aqueduct Bridge project, which I think are well presented and they've been our priority, so they should be presented with maybe more urgency. Hi, Ashley.
All right, everyone. Sorry I'm late.
No problem. Ashley, just bringing you up to speed, we were talking about our applications and priorities. And I was mentioning that I checked on the conservation fund balance. It's 761 when adding in the 400,000 that we added at last town meeting. And then I was discussing how many projects are on the CPA slate, and that it'll be tough to defend our application for 400,000 more in conservation fund. And Leslie suggested that we cut it in half, which I would say would be the first approach.
Yeah, it sounds reasonable to me. And just as an update, the multi-use trail application I didn't end up submitting. I think I sent emails to some of you, not all of you. Just decided to wait until next year when we have more information from the MWRA and some more information from the downtown master plan process that the master plan implementation committee is working on. So hopefully we'll be further along at that point. And it may just be an application for road crossings at that point if there's nothing to be done on the aqueduct trail portion, you know. So we'll just kind of see where things fall out, and hopefully we'll have a good application next year.
I think that's a good decision. And since we're going for the Aqueduct Bridge project next phase, you know, it's tied together, so. So that being said, we have the accessible trail senior center application value 28,000, and we have the Aqueduct Bridge project value 133,000. I suggest to the committee that we continue our emphasis on those two. Is there consensus around that, or specific comments, anyone?
Yeah, I agreed that those would be the priorities.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree as well.
Good, thank you. Brian, not to put you on the spot, but given that at least one application is trail related and Trails Committee sponsored it, I don't know if you or Bob were planning to be present to present that at the CPC hearing, but could you check with him and see that maybe one of you is available?
Yeah, that's, is that December 2nd?
No, not,
No?
the January hearing dates haven't actually been set.
Oh.
Our first meeting will be more of a review of the projects within the committee. I mean, it's open to be viewed, but we don't plan on bringing in the applicants at that meeting.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'll sign myself up for the ADA trail one, and I'll try to rope Bob into the Aqueduct Bridge.
That's great. I appreciate you volunteering for that. I think you're the perfect candidate.
I'll fake it.
Comes naturally. Well, that said, do any members have, or Mia, any additional information on these applications? I think you did update the bridge, so that's currently been submitted with the new figures. The viability of both is well laid out in the applications, I think, and I think those have a good shot. But I think it'll be tough beyond that, just looking ahead. If the housing project, which is the potential to add 8 new affordable housing units with a lot of state backing, and even with that state backing and the funds that are already in reserves, the application is looking for 800,000 more. Add that to a minimum 200,000 approximately for the next White Cliffs bond payment. And you're already at $1 million when we don't have that much new revenue coming in, so there'll be some bartering about what the reserves should go to. I'd love to see both of these get approved so that we can kick them forward rather than waiting a year.
Yeah, I'm looking at the agenda for the second now, John. I can see them all listed. And so, yeah, you see some of those numbers on there and it adds up.
Yeah, it adds up. There are several historical applications that might not rank in priority, given that White Cliffs always has to come for as many more bond payments that we have. I think we have 5-6 more years of them, if I'm not mistaken. So we will be hard pressed to get money into the conservation fund if we want to agree that the 2 trails projects are top priority. And if there's a consensus on that, then I think that'll, that probably would be the response if we're asked by the CPC where our priorities lay.
Yeah, so it would be the accessible trail, then the aqueduct bridge, then replenish the conservation fund.
Right.
Hey, John, just a question.
Paul?
For the aqueduct bridge, right? Where would, if hypothetically, a design is approved, like where do we expect that funding to come from if we were to go ahead with doing anything on the bridge?
Additional CPA applications, most likely. Maybe there's other grants that we could start pursuing if we knew we had it lined up. And I'm sure that would be something we'd be active in, but and the study, the next design phase sounds expensive, but it's in line with prior phases of other projects. And it's always had good support to kind of update that and make it accessible to citizens. It's always been a focus of open space plans, and it dovetails well with the master plan, I think so.
Okay,
John, do you
thanks.
mind if I offer that Norm Corbin sent me a link for some historic funding that I think the next phase would fit perfectly into, we'd have to get it. But it was over $100,000 projects. So, and that the next phase is the bid docs, the final design documents, which would be about 100 to 150,000. So I think that would be a great source of funding, and that would relieve the CPC application at least for a year. And then we would be looking for a CPC application for the match portion of a trails grant. We'd probably go for a trails grant for the largest portion, which will be the decking and railings.
Good thoughts.
Just for your information, Mia, there's been a bit of discussion in a couple of the master plan meetings just about incorporating the aqueduct bridge into a downtown plan, and whether there's any opportunity for a stairway up, or how to incorporate that and allow people to walk from downtown and access the bridge right there. So something to think about as the sort of plans are being done, and how we incorporate the two. So exciting.
That is a great idea.
Well, any feedback from any other member on the CP applications? I don't have any other business to propose. Regarding next meeting, I was going to suggest taking December off and making a date in late January. How does everybody feel about that?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sounds good.
Yeah, good. We don't have any big business to discuss. Are we, just a question too, John, I know we've sent out letters in the past. Is that something we've thought about doing annually, or we kind of do it every couple of years? I just don't know when we're due to kind of send letters out to landowners again.
I would think we should re-up the campaign toward the spring or prepare for the
Spring, yeah.
spring.
Okay.
I
Alright.
think doing it as regularly as possible is never a bad idea.
Right, yeah, okay.
Um, I mean, if,
I
you
thought we
know,
were on a pretty much every other month schedule anyway, John.
yeah, well, you know, we had been in the past, and yet we seem to have a lot going on this summer, so but I'm fine with that too, as long as there isn't a lot of, particularly in the winter, sometimes, I don't know. As long as we don't have a lot of business, that's perfectly fine.
Have to drive through snowstorms.
That's correct. We're still zooming. The January has 5 Mondays. The 4th is January 24th, and the 5th one is the 31st. Shall we try the January 24th? Does that seem okay? And is that a slot available that Monday? Or is there any BOS conflict? I don't know if you know that far ahead, Scott.
Need to pull up the dates real quick. It'll take me a minute to do that, but I'll cross-check while we discuss it more.
Yeah, because I like having you available for the meetings. It's been a lot of years since we had a BOS person who came to the meetings, so we welcome it.
I'm bringing that up right now. Let me find it. January. January 24th will be Board of Selectmen on the 10th and the 24th. So that would be a conflict.
Could we do January 31? Would everybody be okay with that? Sounds good to me.
Yeah, works for me.
Works for me.
Yep, good for me.
Okay, any other business by anyone? Any other feedback, comment? And otherwise, I'm good with a motion to adjourn.
I guess just before we adjourn, as far as what I've volunteered myself for, I'm gonna probably want to, John, touch base with you and Mia just about technique and whatnot. But I just want to make sure that doesn't have to be done within the scope of this meeting, because it's just more casual conversation. Now, there's lots of rules about like what we can talk about and what we can't talk about. So I guess I'm just asking a question: are we able to discuss how I should present things? Because I'll need a little bit of guidance. Can that be done outside of this meeting?
Yes,
Okay.
but I would not lose any sleep over it. I'm really just looking for someone to present the application bullet points that are actually in the application, other than my doing it. And I think on the accessible trail, it's a layup for you. You've been discussing it in the trails meetings for some time, so you just talk about what you know, and there's a map in the application, I think, but probably having that put forth so it's in the packet for the CPC members ahead of time. That would be one suggestion there. And same kind of thing on the Aqueduct Bridge project. Maybe pick out what would be the best looking diagram or handout. That's a very well-known spot in town, so it's not like there'll be any mystery. But in terms of why we want it, what are we trying to accomplish? Where's the money going to? Those information points would be important on that one, because the committee as a whole won't understand where we have to go with it and what the hurdles are to overcome, which Mia has spoken a lot about. So I think by all means, she could enhance your talking points on that one.
Perfect. Thanks.
Very good. Nothing else? Then I'll recommend we quit early.
Mr. Chair, I move we adjourn.
Second.
Scott and Leslie, thank you. I will now call your names to agree to that. Scott,
Hi.
Leslie,
Goodbye.
Michelle,
Goodbye.
Bill,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Ashley,
Yes.
and me, I agree too. Good night, everybody. Thanks for showing up.
Bye.
Nice holiday.
Night.
Thanks
Have a
for
good
the-
holiday.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas.